Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the sanctuary. Boy, is it good to be here. I'm at the church today. Everything seems in good condition. I think the church made it through relatively unscathed. I think we might have had one pipe go bad, but it feels good in here today. And I'm happy to be able to be back in the saddle again and not have to rig things in odd ways just to do the broadcast today. So how are you doing? Let's see who's here. Hi, everybody. Lisa, Glenn, Holmes, Mark, Lisa, Chloe, James. Welcome. I know there are many of you or some of you who don't ever comment, and that's fine. You're welcome too. I'm glad that you've decided to spend a little bit of your time today here with us at the sanctuary. I don't have anything to announce to you. We will hopefully resume our Wednesday night Zoom chats because I know you got stories to tell after this week. And I want to hear them. And that's probably what we'll spend the bulk of our time on Wednesday night is catching up with each other and finding out how we survived this week in Austin, Texas. So let's see. Anything else I need to say? I don't think there is. So let's get down to it, shall we? It has been a quiet week in Lake Wobegon. But in Austin, Texas, it's been a huge problem this week. Oh, it's been a big deal this week. Remember a week ago when we were all safe and warm and we were sitting in our houses and expecting a little cold weather, but hey, this is Texas. It'll only last a day or so. And then it got real. It got real bad, real inconvenient, real scary. And that's what I want to talk about today is what happens when it gets real? Are there things we can learn even from moments when it seems like this is not a teaching moment, this is just punishment mode? No, there's always things to be learned. You know, there's you're probably familiar with it. There's an old proverb. It's supposed to be an old Chinese proverb. I'm not sure if it is or not, but you probably heard it. It's supposed to be a curse. It doesn't sound like a curse. But it says, may you live in interesting times. Now, on the surface, that sounds like a nice wish for somebody. But when you dig down deeper, interesting times are not what most people want. Most of us like a routine. Most of us like it when we know what to expect every day. But when things get interesting and we have to adapt or we have to get out of our routine, we tend to not like that. But interesting times is not the IT I want to talk about today. I actually have several other things that got real this week. Let me take you through them, okay? IT, it gets real. The first thing that got real, or one of the first things that got real this week for me, is instant terror. When you wake up in the middle of the night and there's no power, you get a fearful feeling inside. And even though I did that sermon a couple of weeks ago called Wait to Worry, I'm not always very good about waiting to worry. I like to get started on worrying right away. And so I didn't sleep much more after I woke up and saw that the power was off. And by the time I did get up in the morning, it was starting to cool off in the house. And my mind was instantly seizing on the fearful aspect of what was going on. I didn't take my own advice very well. I didn't depend on God. I didn't trust that I was going to be okay. Instead, I was like, what's happening? How long is this going to last? And mostly, how inconvenient is this for me? Instant terror is one of the things that happens to us when our paradigm changes. And I'm sure most of you felt some moments of panic this week too, because you feel helpless. You feel like you can't do anything to change the situation. Another it that got real this week is imperfect technology. Oh my goodness. How much we depend on our TVs and our radios and our water heaters and our internet. Can you imagine explaining to your grandparents how you had to go sit in the car during a snowstorm so you could charge your phone, so you could get on the internet and find out what was going on? Boy, it doesn't take much of a storm, or it doesn't take a long period of time to send us back 100 years, and we feel like I'm helpless without my technology. I need my technology back. Maybe you're like me. I'd rather have the internet back than TV any day. But whatever your technology is, it got messed with this week. it got interrupted, and sometimes we don't handle that very well at all. We sit around, we moan about it and cuss about it, and we wail about, why is this happening? How can I fix this? When will this all be over? Another IT that happened, it happened. Iffy travel. If you ventured out this week, especially in the middle part of the week, you saw there was insanity on the roads in Austin, Texas. There were abandoned cars everywhere. One of the times I was sitting out in my car one afternoon, charging my phone, and I looked at the end of our block, and there's an underpass there that goes under Mopac, and I watched an SUV turn sideways, skid sideways, and then it started sliding sideways down that underpass. I don't know what happened when it got to the bottom of it. I couldn't see, but I could imagine the helpless feeling of those people, because your car does not obey you in moments like that. I drove some just about every day this week, and times it was just absolutely terrifying. What do we lean on when we can't even escape? You know, you think, well, this spot is very bad that I'm in right now. Let's go to another spot. No, you can't. You can't go anywhere else. You're stuck. It got real this week. Another one, irate tantrums. Did you get mad? Did you get mad this week? Anger got very real this week. Maybe you were thinking, who am I, Job? How much more of this can I take? We keep piling on and piling on and piling on stuff and adding to the list of things I cannot do. How much more can I put up with? And we get mad. I don't know, we get mad at God, at circumstances, at the weather, at our technology, whatever it is. Our anger boils up in us, and we feel so helpless and powerless. It gets real when you've got icy toilets. Some people's toilets froze up. Some people were dumping snow in their toilet so they could proceed in a relatively normal fashion. We didn't ever lose water. We lost power, but we didn't lose water. But many of you probably had to go through that experience. I saw a friend of mine in a fur coat. She posted a picture of herself in a fur coat shoveling snow in the backyard to put in the toilet tank. And I thought, okay, you got to do what you got to do. It's not convenient. It's not the way you would like it to be, but you got to do what you got to do when the circumstances arise. Another it that got real to me, imaginary trauma. It's bad enough the way things are, but what our minds tend to do is to look for the worst possible outcome. To say, what if the power never comes back on? What if it's like this for weeks? What if my house is damaged beyond repair? What if I die out here in the snow? I had that as a very real concern one day this week. I was here at the church, and there was a water issue down in TCC, and I was told, well, we need to shut off the water at the main out in the front yard. So I go out in the front yard, and folks, I don't ever tell you about this, but I have a very bad back. It's a mess. And consequently, one of the hardest things for me to do is to get up and get down. Bending over, squatting down, kneeling, those are almost out of the question for me. But I still had to go out and get down close enough to the ground to pry open the water main box. And then I saw under that lid was a deeper hole, and I had to step down in that hole and then get on my hands and knees in 6 inches of snow and ice to reach in and turn off the valves that were under that cover. And when I had done that, I thought, I cannot get up. I cannot straighten up. It is asking too much of my skeleton at the present time to stand up. And I thought, this is it. I'm going to have a heart attack out here on my hands and knees in the snow, and brave souls driving down Exposition are going to say, what happened to that guy over there? Look at that guy face down in the snow. And eventually, using everything I had, I was able to struggle to my feet But I tell you, my legs were shaky for 3 days after that. They just quivered every step I took. It was like my muscles were saying, "Why did you try that? Why did you do that?" I was engaging in imaginary trauma when I was thinking, I'm gonna die right here, face down in the snow. What a dramatic death, right? Face down in the snow at the church. I guess that's worst ways I could go. But like Mark Twain has said, and I've quoted to you before, had a lot of troubles in my life, but most of them never happened. Thankfully, that one never came to the end it had in my mind. Another it that got real is your improvisation trials. You keep trying to to be creative about how you can deal with the situation. We woke up on Monday morning, no power, no electricity. Oh, but wait, we have a gas stove. I can turn on some burners on the top of the stove. I can heat up the oven and it will help us to stay warm, even if we have to sit there in a chair in front of the stove. And so I go in the kitchen and, oh, yeah, it's a gas oven, but the starter on the burners is an electric spark, and it won't spark without power. The oven, yeah, it might run, it might warm if it was turned on, but you can't use the control panel without electricity. So you have to get creative. You have to look for possible solutions, and you have to improvise. Lisa has this little butane burner that's like a little camp stove, and she brought it inside, and we cooked up the last package of ground meat we had in the house on this little butane stove. We were grateful to have it. But you have to get creative. How do we flush the toilet? How do we keep warm? How do we cover the windows? How do we deal with branches that fall? We have to improvise when the situation gets so bad. But now here's the main one I want to talk about today, the main IT. This one I call the Eiffel Tower. And I'm talking about I-centric thinking, when we see everything in terms of how it affects us. Now, I know at this point, on this Sunday morning, I know that I didn't really have it any worse than most of the people in Austin. But it sure got real to me. It felt personal. Eiffel Tower thinking, where we distance ourselves and we think, I'm being hurt here. I'm having a bad time. It focuses us so much on ourselves that we have no room to think about anybody else. I have deep admiration for people that are always having a servant heart, that are always thinking, what can we do to help? That's not always the first thing that comes to my mind. The first thing in my mind is usually, poor Mike. This is going to be inconvenient for him. He's got to be cold. He's got to be hungry. My low point, I think, this week was when I posted on Tuesday on Facebook. Lisa and I had made it over to the church. I had tried to get over here first in my car, and my car was too lightweight. I couldn't go anywhere in the snow. I nearly got stuck in the street right outside our house, but I was finally able to get the car back into the driveway. And so later I tried her car, which is much bigger and heavier and higher, and I made it to the church, and the church still had power, still had water. So we decided to move over here to the church, and we stayed for 3 nights in my office. We slept in office chairs for 3 nights. Tuesday night, I was concerned. We were safe, yeah, but all we had to eat was a few granola bars and things that we'd had at home and grabbed up to bring with us. And I knew there were no grocery stores open. I knew there was no place, no restaurant, no fast food, no delivery service was running. And so I posted that this was a little bit scary, that, yeah, for the moment we were warm, we were dry, but wasn't sure how long we were going to have something to eat. And the interesting thing to me was that several people on Facebook commented below my post saying things like, hang in there, Mike, or, hey, y'all stay warm. How do we do that? It brought to mind a Bible verse that had never seemed so real before. It's from the book of James, chapter 2. And James said this, Suppose a brother or sister is without warm clothes or food, and you say to him, "Hey, go in peace, keep warm, be well fed," but you do nothing to help their physical needs. What good is that? Isn't it obvious that God talk without God action is outrageous nonsense? Ooh, that had never been so real to me before. See, I know it's so easy to say things to other people, to say things like, "I'm praying for you," or "Things are going to get better," or "Stay warm and be well fed." But like James said here, there's God talk and then there's God action. And that became real to me on Wednesday when James, not the New Testament James from the sanctuary, James Long, emailed me and said, "We've got heat. We got plenty of food. We'll fix you up with whatever you need if you can get here." Well, James and Jana live, according to my phone, 14 miles south of the sanctuary. But theirs was the only concrete offer I had seen from somebody who said, "We can help you. We've got what you need." And so I got in the car and sticking, I avoided Mopac at all costs, sticking to well-traveled streets. I drove 14 miles south to their house, and Jana had filled a big ice chest with great stuff, everything you could think of to eat. And she included a big jar of homemade chili and a fresh hot loaf of sourdough bread. And I took it back to the church, and that night Lisa and I had Frito pies with chili and cheese and fresh buttered sourdough bread, and we felt like we were feasting in a palace. It was a lifesaver. It made us feel like there was hope, because James and Jana had said, "We can help." They didn't just say, "Hey, stay warm, keep warm, stay well fed." They said, "We will feed you." You see the difference? It's a huge difference. There's a comedian I heard that did a whole special called Thoughts and Prayers, because he said that's what people always say when something bad happens. So-and-so died. Oh, thoughts and prayers for the family. That usually means thoughts and prayers. I'm not going to think about it again. I'm not going to pray about it. But we say it anyway, like it's a magical word. Thoughts and prayers. Thoughts and prayers, like it's pixie dust we sprinkle on it. God talk without God action, James says, is outrageous nonsense. James and Jana's generosity helped us get through another couple of days. And it made it a lot easier a day or two later when we had the chance to help somebody, when we had the chance to invite someone to come over and spend the night in our now heated, once again, house. See, there's always opportunity to place blame and to find fault. And all too often we take those opportunities, but there are also always opportunities to be like Jesus. IT. It could also stand for inconvenient time, because it's usually not convenient to give of ourselves, but it is Christ-like, and it does make things better when we give of ourselves. Finally, it got real. Innovative thinking. Yesterday, it warmed up. The snow began to disappear, and I found that I had new clarity, new priorities. I had rearranged the things that were important in my life. It's amazing how in 1 week, my thoughts went from, "I got to go to the grocery store," to, "I got to go to the store today, and I found some stuff." Or my thoughts went from pizza again to, "I'd give anything for a pizza right now." Or my thoughts went from this old house to, our cozy little home. And maybe, just maybe, my thoughts went from, "Why me?" to, "How can I help you?" And yesterday we saw the beautiful sight. Yeah, that snow was very pretty. It was beautiful. But I was so grateful to see the sign of the snow melting and a hope for a beautiful, green, new life-filled spring. I hope you made it through this week and remained positive, remained healthy, remained fed, and that you have come to a point where you think, I learned some lessons this week. You know, there have been times over the past couple of months when I thought, I'm having trouble coming up with new sermons because I've told every story. I've used all my stories multiple times. I need some new stories. Ooh, be careful what you wish for, because I got a big story this week, but I also learned a big lesson from it. God bless you as we look forward to a time of new growth and a time when we can once again be together and get real right here at the sanctuary. God bless you. I hope to see you real soon.